Rent is a dead money. You are considered to be poor if you are renting. You should buy a home because your friend has bought a home in the area. You must have heard this from people nearby you. It could be your parents, could be your friends, could be your colleagues. So what if we follow a strategy where we can rent in the area where we like and simultaneously we invest in properties to increase our wealth to get financial freedom? So hi guys, this is John again from Admire Property Group, and thank you very much for joining me on my another episode on my channel. In this channel, I talk about financial literacy, financial independence, real estate, and passive income. And in today's video, we'll talk about a strategy which you can use, especially when you are in your younger age, like you are in 20s or young couple, and or you are living with your friends or sharing. You can keep continuing doing that. Video, we will discuss whether we should buy our own home or we should go for renting. And I'm sure you would be thinking, hey John, what are you saying? Why would you rent if you can buy your own home? So if you want to learn about that strategy, make sure you continue watching this video and make sure you subscribe and like and share it with your friends. And first of all, I would like to make this disclaimer. This is just a general information. I haven't taken your personal circumstances into the consideration, and you need to make sure that you talk to the professionals before relying on the information in this video. So for making renting a good strategy, first of all, we need to know about a term called Rentvest. So Rentvest is a strategy where a person rents a home to live in a location where he wants to live in. Simultaneously, he invests into a property in some affordable area to get rental income and for getting the capital growth. So this strategy helps a person to live in a desirable location by renting a house in that area rather than buying an expensive property to live in. So we compare these two options. One is Rentvest, the other one is primary place of residence. The first one is flexibility. In case of Rentvest, you have got the flexibility. You have got so many choices. You can go into the area and live in the area which you like. It could be closer to the city. It could be closer to the amenities. But if you think of buying a property in that area, it may not be feasible. It may be out of your budget. So for buying your own primary place of residence, emotional factor plays a big role. So you will choose only out of 3 or 4 suburb areas where you have lived in and the areas you like for buying your own home. On the other side, if you want to invest, there are more than 15,000 suburbs in Australia. And out of those 15,000 suburbs, there are only 100 or 150 suburbs which are good to invest, which have good capital growth going on, and which could give you a good gross yield on your rental income. Let's consider an example of 2 employees, Joe and Jackie. They're working in the same company and they are earning same income. And Joe goes to the bank and speaks to the bank manager or goes to any lender and gets his borrowing power. And for example, the banker says like he's got the borrowing power of $800,000. So what Joe thinks that he thinks of buying his own home using that borrowing power of $800,000, and he pays his deposit, which will be a bigger amount, and he buys his own home. And so after buying his own home, so he will have to pay for the interest expenses or the mortgage which he has taken from the bank. He'll have to pay for the council rates. He'll have to pay for the water charges. He'll have to pay for any insurance which is related to the property. So there will be a lot of expenses which he will have to start taking out of his pocket from his salary so that he can live in that home comfortably. So it puts a lot of stress on Joe for covering up all these costs which are related to buying his own home. And after 1 year, when Joe goes to the bank and says that he's interested in investing in another property now, and he gets a bank manager to check his borrowing power. So what will bank manager say? He will say no to his loan because he has used his bigger portion of borrowing power in his own home. So his home is a liability to Joe from bank point of view. And the bank will consider his home as a because his home is not producing anything, is not giving any income in his pocket. Rather than it's taking a lot of money out of his pocket to cover up the costs for living in the home. And on the other side, Jackie what he does, rather than using his borrowing power for his own home, he invests into two different properties in two different areas, and he takes into consideration the capital growth of the areas, what sort of rent he will be getting, the gross rental, and the appreciation as well. So what he does, like he invests $800,000 into two different properties, like $400,000 in one property in one area, and $400,000 in another property in different area. So he is diversifying his investment in different areas. It is just like putting eggs in a different basket rather than putting all the eggs in one basket. And Jackie is getting the rental income for both of his properties. So his rental income from these properties is covering all the costs related to the interest charges for the mortgage, council rates, any repairs, any maintenance, any water rates. So it is covering all the costs related to the properties. And it may be putting money, if it's a positive cash flow property or positive gearing property, it will be putting money in his pocket. So he's getting two different income streams from two different properties now. And if Jackie goes to the bank after 1 year, get his borrowing power check, the bank manager will see these two separate properties as a separate income stream for him. And because Jackie has got two different income streams coming out of two different properties, so what he will do, and when he goes to the bank after 1 year to get his borrowing power check, the bank manager will assess his situation and will consider these two rental incomes as his separate income stream with his 9 to 5 job income going on, and they may allow him to buy a third property as well. So this is how the Jackie keep on investing into the properties, because he is using his borrowing power to create an asset and not a liability for him. And these assets are getting a passive income for him, which is adding on to his regular income, and he is trying to invest into more properties. And in case of Jackie, there are more chances of getting the property on rental basis where he wants to live, as compared to the amount of money which he will pay to own the property in the same area. So this helps him in making more savings for the Jackie. So these savings and a passive income earning from the rental properties will add on to his borrowing power, and he can go and purchase another property, the third property, as a rental property for him. So some people may think that what they can do, like they can buy a home first and they will change that home into an investment property. But if you turn your own home into a rental property in future, you will not get that kind of rent which you could have got from 2 or 3 different properties. What happens when you buy your own home, you don't take into consideration the other factors which you need to take into consideration for a rental property. For example, the vacancy rate. You don't pay any attention for the supply and demand in that area. You don't pay any attention for the infrastructure which is coming out in that area. So when you buy a home, it's all emotional factor which plays a big role. And for investments, you need to be very strategic. You need to use the data and methodical approach to find out the locations for good investment, where you will get the capital growth as well as a very high rental yield. And if you choose those properties strategically with a data-driven approach, you could buy those properties in areas where you have got good gross yield, where the rent is a lot more than the expenses to cover off. So those kind of properties will be paying money in your pocket. So in case of Jackie, he is paying all those costs and he's getting some money into his pocket. And on the other side, because he is renting, he will be paying lesser rent as compared to the amount of the mortgage which he will have to pay if he buys his own home. And all this passive income from his different properties, along with his regular income, is giving him the opportunity to increase in borrowing power and look forward to invest in another property, so that you can have very high positive cash flow properties. For the positive cash flow, I have already made one video which you can watch on the link above. And let's conclude the pros and cons of both the options. So in case of rent vesting, you have the flexibility. You can choose the area wherever you want to invest. But in case of own home, you have very less options. You will have only 3 or 4 suburbs where you have lived in to buy a house in that area. In rent vesting, you need a lower deposit to start going into the market. Whereas in case of own home, the initial deposit will be higher because you will be buying an expensive house. In rent vesting, you will have multiple streams coming from different properties, and these passive incomes will increase your borrowing power. On the other side, in case of home, you don't have these passive incomes coming in, and you have to pay the mortgage that is coming out of your pocket, and that is a liability for you. In case of Rentvest, the money is working for you, and on the other side, for your own home, you are working for the money. In Rentvesting, your investments are an asset for you, and in case of own home, your home is a liability for you. In case of Rentvesting, you're not stuck. You're not stuck with the mortgage payments because someone else, your tenants, are paying for the mortgage for your rental properties. But in case of your own home, you are stuck with the debt for the home for another 25 to 30 years. In case of Rentvest, you are not fearful. If something happens to you or something happens to your job, you don't have the liabilities on you. But in case of your own home, if something happens like that, you will have a big liability on you and you will be fearful in your life. In case of Rentvest, you have the opportunity cost. You are investing in the right location at the right time. But on the other side, in case of your home, you are restricted to some areas only. But as usual, there are some cons also with the rentvesting. So in case of rentvesting, your residence will be less secure. So your landlord might say you to move to some other property because he's doing something with his own property. But in case of your residence, it will be secured. In case of rentvesting, you will have ongoing costs of the properties as a landlord, but all these costs are claimable. If you are going for the option of rentvesting, you won't have access to the grants, the government grants. But in case of your own residence, you can have access to the grant. But it depends, like which option do you weigh more, depending upon your personal and financial circumstances. In case of rentvesting, your serviceability will be better as compared to your owning your own home. So in case of rentvesting, you can keep on increasing your portfolio by adding more and more properties into it. And in maybe 6 or 7 years, if you have bought 5 or 6 properties, and after 10 years, you can sell 2 or 3 or 4 of them to buy your dream home debt free. So hi guys, I hope this video has given you good information about rentvesting and owning your own home. And after watching this video, you can have good knowledge and decide whether rentvesting is a good option for you or buying your own home is a good option for you. I hope you liked the video, and if you like it, make sure you click on the subscribe button and like it and share it with your friends. And I will see you in my next video.